I love hearing from you that I know the right thing to do. I'm just not going to do it. You literally just said that to me. Do all your clients do the same thing?
Yeah, they come in and like, I really know what I should do, but I'm not going to do that. So what can I do instead?
All right. Well, we're burying the lead here because you've got good news for us today. Matt Robison, Mike Morton, Financial Life Planning. I'm so thrilled. I need more good news in my life. And we were just talking about, we always kibitz for like, a minute or two before we start recording. And usually we're just trying not to do the pod before the pod as we kind of crack each other up. We're like, yeah, let's not do these parts because only we find them funny. And I literally asked you, wait, what we're about to talk about, is this a good news story or a bad news story? And you're like, no, this is a good news story. And when you told me, I'm like, yeah, that is a good news story. What's the good news that you're about to share with everyone?
The good news is you might be feeling anxious about your cash flow situation. Your expenses are high and your income is barely keeping up. And so you're monitoring your checking and savings account, every month. Oh, do I have enough to pay the mortgage and the bills? And so you're feeling anxious about that. But the good news is that there's another way of looking at it, which is your net worth. Rather than the cash flow, looking at your net worth and seeing that going up year over year is really a better way, I think, of keeping track. Not a better way. I was telling Matt, I did some AI research and the AI was telling me, no, it's all about cash flow. Net worth is, just looking backwards. You got to use cash flow for looking forwards. But I think the opposite, Matt. I think that net worth is something that you really should be paying attention to and is a great barometer of your financial health.
What I just heard you say is you're picking a fight with Skynet. That's great. So smart. Right. I really appreciate that. It's not like Skynet's about to become self-aware and wipe us all out. And it's your fault. When we're living on a mountain of skulls, you're going to be like, yeah, I probably should not have picked a fight with ChatGPT.
Right. Well, this is why I always use the word please when I'm asking questions of ChatGPT. Could you please give me the answer to this? Because I like to be polite to Skynet.
You're toadying to our robot overlords. That's actually
it's a good place to start.
Idea. Matt. Yeah. All right. Let me read that back. So you're saying, because I feel this way. I do. I feel recently. Okay. So recently, I discovered that I had kind of gotten hit by a quirk of a billing cycle for a major recurring expense that we have, and I maintain for our household a pretty even amount month to month in our checking account. Right. And I took a look and I'm like, wait a second, that's not what should be there. And it's because I got this double cycle. So I've got to do this whole machination of going and dipping into, my target date fund and moving a little bit over, et cetera. And so I really did have this feeling that I think a lot of people relate to of, this is a paycheck to paycheck thing. Like I'm kind of off cycle from the next paycheck. So I've got to recover. And what you're saying is if you've set things up right, I shouldn't be so stressed. Even though ChatGPT says you should be stressed.
This ChatGPT says, "Oh my God, Matt, you're a disaster right now. You really got to work this out."
Thanks, robots.
I think.
Don't you love it when robots are also like, not only are we going to give you mean advice, we're also going to verify that you're human and not one of us before we dispense that advice. It's like,
well, they want to know where to send the nuclear missiles. Are you really a human? Okay, got it.
Yeah. It's like, if you were a robot, they'd be like, welcome to our evil overlord plan. If you're a human, it's like, you should feel terrible about yourself. They're just trying to depress us.
That's right. It's a depression first, so we won't feel bad about being wiped out.
Great.
So, and let me tell you, like, I feel the exact same, Matt. So I always ask my clients, how much money do you like to have in your checking account? Because often people have some extra in there that they want to, invest. And so I always like to ask them, okay, so that might be like 10,000, right? Like, I like to have about 10,000 in my checking account. Well, to be honest, recently mine's been more like 1,000, like $1,000 in my checking account.
Wait, you're a thousandaire?
Exactly.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm doing the exact same thing, man. So I feel you. It's like, oh, I need to move some money from here so I can cover the mortgage is going to be taken out in 5 days. Is there enough in the bank account that it's not going to like overdraft? I mean, I'm doing all the same things. And you're like, what is going on? Just trying to get ahead. So I feel like I'm on the treadmill, the cash flow of like, oh, things are coming out, things are coming in, and it's just barely, keeping my head above water. So, and I feel like that's true for a lot of people. So one thing I was thinking about recently is this idea of net worth. And it strikes me that if I was going to retire tomorrow, for people that are retired, right? Suddenly your cash flow, of course, the expenses are still part of your cash flow. You're still spending money. But what's really important when you are about to retire is how much money you've amassed, right? Like your net worth, like how much money is in those retirement accounts and my bank accounts and my 401ks. Is that enough for me to live on, right? So it's a much more an equation on like your net worth. And the other point is we're getting some other stories, but when I review situations, I see this cash flow breaking even. Oh, geez, I'm just barely keeping up. I'm on this treadmill, but I see the net worth going up every year over year. And that's what's really important to understand is that you're building that nest egg, your net worth to spend in the future, right? So saving, investing to spend in the future, and it is growing and it's going in the right direction. So if you take a little bit of time to look at your net worth, you're going to feel a lot better about the progress that you're making.
So it's the difference between treading water in a pond versus treading water in a river that's flowing majestically downstream toward your ultimate destination and not washing you out to sea.
Not washing you out to sea.
We're about to take a beach trip, and I hate the ocean. I don't like swimming. I feel like swimming is something that you should do if and only if you've fallen off a boat. So I'm just reflecting my stress to you. But yeah, you're saying you're going somewhere good.
So swimming while watching a baseball game, how would that feel?
Yes. Longtime listeners know that I think that, like cat ownership, watching baseball is a sign of deep moral degradation in your fiber of your being.
Your cat owner. Why you have to throw cats in there? What's wrong with cats?
Listen, I feel very strongly about this. Like any dog under 50 pounds is a cat, and cats are pointless.
All right. I'm not going to go there today. We'll hold that for another time.
You won't take that bait? No. All right, dude. Yeah. But you're saying, all right, net worth is what really matters. So are you kind of doing better, even though you feel like you're kind of going paycheck to paycheck?
Let me tell you personally again. So I track my net worth. I've done it for about 10 years now. I have a little spreadsheet. And when I go in there every year, January 1st. I try to do it like right around the start of the year. Total up everything. And to recall, net worth is everything you own. So you add up everything you own. I own like a house, or most of a house. I have a mortgage. So a house, and you could put your cars in there. I generally don't. We've got a couple of retirement accounts, a couple of brokerage accounts. So I add all that on one side. And then minus everything you owe, all your loans. So that would be my mortgage. If we have student loans, we have a HELOC, now as well. Matt's favorite HELOC.
Yes.
Which
is, I assume, what they put you in if you're the Coast Guard rescuing someone from the ocean where you're trapped in a riptide.
That's right. While you're being swept out to sea.
Yeah, they put you in a HELOC.
That's right. So you do that. So everything you own minus everything you owe gives you just a single number. And that is called your net worth. And I track this for myself. And the great thing is you see the right-hand side, everything you own, slowly going up. Like, I saved a little bit more. Hopefully the investments have made a little bit of money. My house is now worth a little bit more. So every year you get to update those numbers, and that always feels pretty good. And then the other side, actually, they're usually going down. Like you've paid off some student loan. I paid down some mortgage. And so that side's going down. And so therefore it's like the double whammy, like one's going up, the other's going down. You add them up, and that's growing. And the point there is if you're in a simple situation, it may not make that much of a difference. Like I own a small house, I have a small mortgage, I'm mostly saving in my 401k. Then the 401k is kind of the thing that you're keeping track of, that's saving. But here's what I run into a lot, Matt. I'm treading water, right? Lots of, cash coming in, cash going out. One of the reasons, and this happens with a lot of clients, is now I have a vacation home that we purchased a couple years ago. That's got maintenance and expense and it has income. We rent it out, right? And so therefore now I own 2 houses. I've got 2 mortgages. And so that's all going to power my retirement. And that's why I think net worth is so important, because at some point in the future, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, I might sell that home and turn it back into cash to spend on retirement stuff, right? And I run into a lot of people in the same situation while we're growing, get a vacation home, get something else, we got a condo we're renting out. And so it's the net worth that really, you'll see ticking up and feel really great about the direction that's going.
All right, 2 quick questions. One, I do the same exercise probably because you influenced me, where I have a spreadsheet and I have my assets and I have my liabilities. The only difference in what I do, because I listen to you, is that I don't count the increasing share of my house that I own, because you advised me once upon a time, you advised all our listeners, don't treat your house as an investment. I have no intention to sell my house for a profit. Therefore, the only thing I'm counting is the decreasing amount of my mortgage that's a liability. Is that the right way to go?
So wait, read that back to me. So you have all your accounts, like your retirement accounts and brokerage accounts on that side, but you don't include the value of your house on that side? Okay.
Because I don't think of it as an asset.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So you don't have your house is worth $400,000. You don't include the $400,000, but you do include on the liabilities the mortgage?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I would do it that way.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, what bothers me is that what I would have to do is multiply whatever Zillow says is the current value of my house times the percentage of my house that I own.
No, here's what you do.
Yeah.
No, you could do it. Here's what I do for my clients and I do for myself. I take the Zillow price, so it's like a third-party price. So I'm not just guessing. I'm using something. They're guessing, but it's fine. I'll use their guess. I take about 90% of that just to be a conservative. So I take 90% of whatever Zillow says, and then you include your mortgage. So you say my whole house is worth $500,000. My mortgage is $200,000. You include both of those numbers, the positive and the negative. And so it gets, you own $300,000. So therefore you own $300,000 of a thing.
I get it. You know what? I think I see it. Maybe I'll start to do things that way. What you're doing is you're taking the game of life. I mean, literally the old fashioned board game approach that, in the game of life, how you could sell your kids. Technically, it's all the assets you have. So push comes to shove. Could you sell your house? Even if you have no intention of doing so? Yes, you could. And that's what you intend. All right. I got it. Good idea. I do not intend, nor could I sell my kids. So I will not include that.
Okay. Fair enough. Don't include the kids. That's fine. The reason I like to include the house, I agree with you. It's not an investment. You have to live somewhere. So that is true. You have to have a home. But I do find a lot of people that own $1 million homes raising kids in an expensive neighborhood that they might not always stay there. I mean, and we're talking maybe $2 million homes, California, they're in the Bay Area, they talk about money coming and going. And so they might move at some point. And so I do think it's worth tracking.
Fair enough. Yeah. Dude, do you remember how you talked in a recent episode about how you imported your parents to live across the street and you have this kind of communal, as soon as your kids are all out of the house and off to college, I'm looking forward to your parents calling you and be like, there's really no value in us staying near you anymore. We're out of here. We're going to downsize at that point. All right. Let me get to my second.
No, they won't do that because who's going to take care of them? That's why they moved right across the street.
Oh, great. Fair's fair. Second question. Is the reason ultimately, maybe I'm kind of stepping on the punchline here, but is the reason that it feels like you're treading water, but actually you're making progress in terms of net worth, that you personally, Mike Morton, have followed your own advice and you've done so much auto saving? You have the money coming off the top from your paycheck right into your retirement accounts or your 529s, and you're following that waterfall. Is that why you're making progress?
Well, this falls under the do what I say, not what I do column.
Oh no.
I wish I was saving more.
I've nailed you.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm not, not saving nearly as much as I should be. Well, or can be. So this goes back to the answer is yes and no. Yeah, we do have some automatic savings, some 401ks, that are getting swept out. So yes, but not a tremendous amount these days. And it's because expenses are a lot right now for us. Now, this gets back to another point, which is depending on where you are in your career and your life, right? So the answer for the last couple of decades was absolutely yes. Everything was getting saved, right? When I was in my 20s and 30s, 40s, it's like, lots of time and energy, working hard, making some good income, and just saving as much as I could. Definitely the automatic savings, the 15% in the 401k, stuff like that. So definitely want to do that. And that's where cash flow is way more important. All right. Early in life, you get the starter home or you're renting, you got the first job, second job, you're making some money. You definitely have the cash flow is important. It's really important to save. All right. Now I'm in what I might term the middle of my career, somewhere, not the start and not the end. And things are tighter, with 3 kids and lots of money coming and going. And I'm not able to save as much as I would necessarily like to. But I have already saved. And so now the compounding starts kicking in. And so to answer your question, yes, on the net worth, why I like looking at it's because built up some retirement accounts, they're compounding. We had the second vacation home, that's growing in value. We're spending money on it to upkeep. It's growing in value. So there's lots more coming and going. And that's what I found with many of my clients is that's exactly where they have done early career, lots of saving, investing, growing. And now the net worth and compounding is really starting to kick in.
So where you are in the life cycle matters a lot. Early in your career, a lot of cash flow issues, right? You're just not making as much and you have to kind of get some of the early savings, but you can be forgiven if you're not able to put as much away. When you're retirement age, you're tucking away that last bit while you're still earning. And if you're in the middle, you're in the middle. And so right now it sounds like for you, the expenses are higher. So cash flow's a little tighter.
Yeah. And it's really important. This gets back to the financial planning. Right? I know that cash flow is really tight for me right now for these next few years, but I have a plan. The plan is, that I'm going to continue to work, and do that and continue to save. And I know that I'm in this certain situation right now that's going to change in the future. We've saved a lot for college already. Maybe college expenses are coming up for some people. And I know I'll be able to get back to the savings. And I know the savings I've done are compounding. And I know that the investment in my human capital, something we don't talk about a lot, but is super important, especially when it comes to your kids, the human capital is tremendous. And so which means, your time and energy, translating that into money by working, right? So spending your time and energy and transferring that into money by having a job or doing work. I still have a lot of time on that. And so overall, I have a financial plan. Obviously, I've had the last 20 years. I am where I am now, and I have the next many, many years as well. And so that's all part of the plan. And so knowing that, right? Knowing that this is a certain time where it's a cash crunch, but I'm growing the net worth, all fits into that plan and gives you confidence in we're going in the right direction.
You're more sophisticated than this, but do you hold much stock with those rule of thumb estimates that financial planners use? It's like 3x your salary by age 30 is what you should have. And then by age 40, it's something like 6x. Age 50, it's something like 8x. Or, I'm mangling it, right? It's more like 6x by 50. Anyway, the point is that something you use or that people could use?
I don't use that personally, but I have in the past, and I definitely recommend it. So yeah, you can easily Google those kinds of things, and they're a great rule of thumb. And what it really points to too, Matt, is again, it gets back to where you are in life. If you're in early savings, it just doesn't seem like that much. Geez, I only put away a couple thousand. But by that token, you said maybe 3x by age 30. It's like you have a whole decade to just save, 3 times that salary. Like you have a long time, and it starts slowly, and the additions are what matter. So the cash flow early in your career matters because the additions to the accounts matter. Now, once you're in middle of your career, you've made a lot of additions. Now the additions are not nearly as much as the compounding. Okay?
Oh, I see.
So now my additions to the retirement accounts, seem smaller compared to, hopefully, the growth of the stocks and the compounding. And that's going to be true all the way up to retirement, where now the compounding is way more than the additions that you're making. All right. And so again, it points back to why net worth is so important to just once a year check in on, because the compounding and the growth of all your assets paying down the liabilities is really chugging along much faster than adding in maybe even that 15% of your income.
I ambushed you a little bit there because that's literally what I did when I was feeling despondent over my cash flow problems, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And just as I looked up, what is that rule of thumb? And I'm just literally taking your advice here. I Googled it. I just want to make sure to say it out loud correctly now because I mangled it a moment ago. The rule of thumb is 3x by age 40, 6x by age 50, 8x by age 60, 10x by retirement. So, and the X is your income.
Yeah, no, the 10, that doesn't quite, we should get back in the show notes on that. The 10X by retirement, I think you need to be much more than 10X. It should be almost 20 to 25X, yeah.
Whoa.
Of your expenses.
All right. Well, hey, if you're about to retire, you're right to feel nervous.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and again, they're all rules of thumbs, but what they point to is what you said, like 3 to 5x by the time you're 40. Think about that. Like you have 20 years, if you start work when you're 20 to when you're 40, you have 20 years just to save, 3 to 6 times your 1 year salary. That's right. And that's why we say it's the 15%. That's why I always say save 15%, because that's where the math, it's a simple math equation. If you save 15% every year for the whole working years, then you have enough to keep spending that through retirement.
All right. Anything else you want to cover on this? Because I want to get to your quote, your one thing close at the end of the show.
No, the only last point is just do this. Okay. So once a year, just have that spreadsheet. You can start today, so you don't have to wait for the end of the year, but I like doing it in January each year. But start today, make a simple spreadsheet, just total up everything you own minus everything you owe, put that in a number, feel great about that number. But more importantly, every 6 months, every 12 months, check in on that number and watch it grow. And then, gain that confidence that you're headed in the right direction.
And if you're not seeing it grow and you're not on track, call Mike. Okay, right. Let's get your quote. I actually think it ties in. I think it's a pretty good tie-in.
All right. This is a quote I ran across from Seth Godin, marketing guru. And
Dude,
it says,
you have so many gurus. You have a bigger collection of gurus than anyone I've ever met. You're like the Beatles in the 60s. But go on.
Yes. I will take that as a massive compliment that I'm learning from all the best people out there.
All the best people. Yeah. No, it's amazing. I honestly, when I want aphorisms and great advice, it's like you are a dictionary of great advice and experts. It's awesome.
There you go. All right. This quote goes like this. Trust is what's in short supply, not attention. You can always create a short-term commotion to get a bit of attention, but you can't possibly hype your way into being trusted.
So true. So true. When I was a congressional staffer, our press secretary used to always say that. He said, hey, look, we want to get the congressman some press. I can get him some press. Just send him down to the floor of the House and on C-SPAN Live, just take fistfuls of cash, throw them in the air and make it rain. You'll be on the news that night. No doubt about it. Might not be great attention, but it'll be attention.
Yeah. I find it, yeah, exactly. I find it interesting in this attention. When I hear the word attention, I do think that it's a limited resource. We talk about our own attention and how we're constantly distracted. And the flip side is that companies know this and have to do increasingly audacious, outrageous things to grab our attention, which is the point of this quote. Is like, yeah, that's what is out there. And it's so crazy. But you lose trust, when you do that. And so I think it's a really good point for those brands or people, running marketing and stuff to realize trust is a quantity that I think more and more is going to be highly valuable.
It's also good guidance for people like us who are doing media, who are creating, gosh, I hate this word, but I'm going to air quote it anyway, content, and people in your line of work.
Yeah.
We could, clickbait our way to, you could get 1 million listeners to this show if you wanted to, if you were willing to say lots and lots of unhinged, crazy things. Wouldn't be great for your business.
Right.
Wouldn't be great for my integrity and my media brand, but we could do it. And I think you are right to establish a long-term trust equation with the people you work with. And I try and go for the same thing with the people I communicate with. So good advice.
Love it, man.
All right, man. Great stuff. You made me feel better. I like the long-term view. I'm going to feel like the tide is, or the river, whatever, is slowly taking me to a nice beach, and I'm looking forward to getting out of the darn water.
Get it out of the water.
Get out of the water. There's something bad in there, and it's the water. For Mike Morton, I'm Matt Robison. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for joining us on Financial Life Planning. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a massive difference. If you have a comment or question, please email me, mike@mortonfa.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered for investment advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording. Such opinions are subject to change. I cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the data presented here.